Hi everyone, and welcome to the webinar today. We're just going to give it a couple of minutes to let everyone join in, and we'll start about 2 to 3 minutes past the hour. Okay, there's lots and lots of you on the webinar today, so thank you all very much for joining. Today's webinar is all on how we can make email work better for construction projects. Now, part of the session today is obviously to take questions from you. So throughout the session, if anyone has any questions, please use the Q&A or chat facility within Zoom, which we'll leave some time at the end to go through. So to get started, you've got myself on the call, who is one of the client managers here at Mail Manager, and Ben.
Hi, I'm Ben Wallbank. Hello, everybody. I'm actually an architect by background, gone bad and into all things to do with the construction industry and digitization. So I'm the BIM strategy and partnerships manager for Viewpoint in EMEA. And obviously my role here is to talk about this partnership that we've got with Mail Manager.
Thanks, Ben. We're really excited to have you on today and learn more about Viewpoint. So in the webinar today, Ben's going to kick us off by introducing you to Viewpoint and go into more depth on the importance of having a CDE. I'm going to then give you some background into Mail Manager and explain the reasons behind why businesses are wanting to implement a better way to manage email, along with why we chose to integrate Viewpoint and Mail Manager. You'll have a chance to see the two systems working together, and then we'll leave some time at the end to go through a Q&A to make sure everyone has their questions answered. So Ben, without any further ado, over to you.
Thanks very much. Forgive me if this is a bit of teaching your grandmother to suck eggs, because a lot of the people on the call will be existing Mail Manager clients, and a lot of, hopefully the people on the call are Viewpoint customers. This is really more for the Mail Manager customers to just say who we are and what we are. So next slide, please. So Viewpoint's mission is to make construction as easy as possible for everybody. And there are 800 or so of us within the Viewpoint portion of Trimble. Next slide, please. Trimble is a global corporation. There are actually, though this says 11,000, about 13,000 as I understand now, in 35 countries. So we are a really huge specialist software provider. And our main focus, alongside transport and agriculture and things like that, but our main focus is the AEC industry. So we really are specializing in this area. So next slide, please. And as you would expect, we have a huge raft of software solving different problems for different parts of the construction industry. But even with this huge raft of softwares, and actually I deal with partnerships not just externally, but also our partnershiping internally within Viewpoint. And this is really one of our main efforts at the moment, is going towards how we can begin to get a more seamless integration, both internally with the products that you can see here, but also with partners that we identify. No software company, even one as big as Trimble, can solve every problem. And we have always taken the view that we must be open in our approach to the exchange of data and to partnering. So where we identify what we regard as a best-in-class specialist software, which isn't part of our stable, we will do what we're doing here, which is to partner with another company. So next slide, please. So it's important to say that a huge part of our effort, and indeed more than is the case with our competitors, is devoted to research and development and to these kinds of integrations. Next slide, please. Within the Viewpoint part of Trimble, we have in EMEA 3 main products. Today I will be talking about Viewpoint for Projects, which is our premier common data environment. But we also have a field solution called Field View and a lightweight construction management program called Team. Next slide, please. I guess just to say, well, you know, why us? In terms of Viewpoint for Projects, we have been collaboration project of the year in the Construction Computing Awards for every year since 2011. So this is a, you know, huge, long chain of success in this particular area. Next slide, please. So what is a CDE? A common data environment, and why do the standards actually say that you must use a CDE? So if you look at what was BS 1192 is now ISO 19650, and also a European standard, an EN. This is all about ensuring that everybody has access to the latest information at the same time, has control of their collaborative process and visibility on team performance. And this is the idea that it is for each participant their single source of truth for a particular stage of work. And the idea here is that for all of your work, you can define what is going to be required, monitor whether it's actually being delivered, validate the information coming in, and record. So that's that golden thread of information, record who has done what and when. And it's really important to say this is not just for files or documents, but for data and models, and of course out in the field. Next slide, please. These days, we're more and more being asked to conform to the standards which are necessary to collaborate in the digital world. And in particular, at the moment, we've got this wonderful new international standard, which is actually developed from what was BS 1192, ISO 19650. And this idea that work is in progress is then shared with others, and for that you need a common data environment, is then published, so that is a given deliverable, and then is recorded. That's that golden thread of information. And that's the service that Viewpoint for Projects offers. Next slide, please. So why would you know, a company like Mail Manager want to collaborate with us? Well, in the NBS, so this is the 10th report, the NBS 10th report from 2020, and you can see that for the UK market, Viewpoint for Projects is the premier tool. It's actually used by 50% of the people that responded to this survey. And if you then look down at our competitor products, you'll notice it's a much smaller portion of the market. So obviously it makes sense for a company like 28 Hands to partner with us to get access to that market. So next slide, please.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Ben. So to share with you guys a little bit more about Mail Manager, and I guess really just to start off with some background and context behind why it was built. I'm sure most of you on the call will know Arup. If you don't, they are a multidisciplinary consulting engineering firm. Now, the reason I bring Arup up is they actually built Mail Manager 14 years ago now, so pretty long time ago. And the reason why they built it is they had big problems with consistency when it came to the way the business managed email. Of course, we had processes in place that staff should have been following, which was your traditional dragging and dropping. But most people left important project correspondence within their inbox. So really difficult day to day for our project teams needing to kind of chase up-to-date information when they've got clients on the phone, etc. But as a business, we were extremely concerned about risk of losing those types of contractual emails, scope of work changes, agreements, approvals, etc. So we kind of thought, you know, imagine if we had one system which would allow all of our project teams to just dive into any of their projects, find any email within a few clicks, but we could do all these wonderful things without having to waste any of our fee earners' time, and most importantly was removing that reliance. You know, we tried lots of things free within Outlook. We looked at lots of systems out in the market, but again, still manual. Someone had to remember to file and decide what is and what isn't important. We wanted something more automated that took that reliance away. So based on the fact we couldn't find anything that quite met our needs, we built Mail Manager. And the real final piece of this puzzle is that Arup didn't build Mail Manager to be sold. It was just for internal use. But because we work with a lot of companies each year, people started seeing it and saying, hey, we want to use this. This is something we need. We've got the same challenges you guys used to have. And it just blew. So we opened up a software wing to the business 4 years ago called 28 Hands, solely to promote and continuously develop Mail Manager. Now, we won't go into too much depth on this, but here's some of the real common issues that companies come to us with. Sometimes, and very commonly, it's risk of losing those types of contractual emails. And, you know, sometimes companies will give us examples of when they've had to go back on a project 4 years down the line and they've got people that have left. It's an absolute disaster. And similarly with wasted time spent searching. Often we don't realize how much time we actually spend searching for emails and spending in Outlook. It's one of the biggest productivity killers. And this was something that was a big issue. But these are all things that Mail Manager will help to solve, which we'll be touching upon as we go through. So finally, before we go into the live demo, why have we integrated Mail Manager into Viewpoint? Now, email is still the most used communication and collaboration tool across the AEC. We see that businesses are very good at filing and sharing project documents and drawings, but when it comes to email, most project correspondence is literally just sat in someone's inbox. And because of that, companies are wasting huge amounts of hours or even days looking for important information. And sometimes worst case scenario, they're not, and they're making ill-informed decisions. So what we're going to do first of all, we're going to jump into a demonstration of Mail Manager now. You'll see a bit more of a snapshot today, but obviously if anyone wants a more detailed demonstration of both the systems, we'll leave our contact details at the end. So first thing to start with, where is Mail Manager filing these emails to and what does that integration look like? So if I just bring up Viewpoint for a moment, you'll see here we've got a project. Now within that project, Mail Manager will need an email subfolder. And that's exactly where Mail Manager is going to point these emails to. So you've got, as Ben mentioned, that one source of truth. Now you don't come to Viewpoint to search nor file emails. That's where Mail Manager comes in. But the key thing is that everything's stored together, both your emails and project information.
So if I just, sorry, if I just very quickly say, obviously there is functionality within Viewpoint as it stands to make a folder an email receptacle, and indeed you can do searches from within Viewpoint on the items in those folders. Equally, if you don't want to use emails, you can use our discussions module to do that. But the reality is that the vast bulk of everybody's day-to-day job is in emails, and what we aren't is a specialist system for making sure that Outlook works seamlessly. And that's why we've partnered with 28 Hands, because it offers that Outlook control and then the ability from within Outlook, as you'll see in a minute, to do searches within for projects.
Thanks, Ben. So just to start with, what actually is Mail Manager? So Mail Manager is a simple Outlook plugin, which sits in the ribbon of Outlook up here. So extremely easy to deploy. Now, the two key parts of the tool we're going to be discussing today is firstly, the filing of emails. So we're going to show you the different ways of filing, but most importantly, how this drives habit and consistency. The second piece we'll go on to is then the search. So you'll be able to see how you can search for an email from 4 days ago versus 5 years ago, and you're not even involved. So first to start with is the filing. Now, the key part of the filing is that it's been designed to form part of your workflow within Outlook, because we know without reminding someone or a project member to do something, we're back to kind of square one where most information stays within the inbox. So if we take this email here from Alan and we go to reply to this and put something like, please proceed. Now, without having to remember to CC in any email address, forward this on, drag and drop, I hit send as normal, and the first thing I'm going to get on my screen is this prompt. This is your difference between people filing emails consistently into Viewpoint against their relevant project folder, and emails just staying within the inbox and leaving it down the individual to manage it themselves. What you should also see here is Mail Manager is also predicting the project folder that email needs to go into. So how does it do that? It looks at your sender, it looks at the receiver, it looks at what you're talking about. So it's got AI built in, but it's also got machine learning. So it learns your filing behavior. So it knows when I email Alan, the likelihood is it's going to go into project 501. So without having to do anything else other than click one button, which is send and file, it's going to take a copy of both the incoming email plus the outgoing email. So you've got that full audit trail, move it to Viewpoint where we've just seen a moment ago. And the other copy, optionally, if you'd like to, I personally quite like it, will stay in the inbox and it will categorize it there with an orange tag, which tells me this email's filed by Mail Manager. Really good if you use your inbox as a to-do list, so you can flag the email, come back to it, and once you're done with it, you can literally just delete it because your main repository is in Viewpoint. So there's one example. If I sent out a fresh email, for example, I'm going to send this to my personal email address to give you a few other options. So again, before I can send the email, I'm prompted to file. You'll see it's predicting a personal filing location, which everyone can have. So there's lots of options with regards to places to store data. And again, I can hit send and file, and it will file it into Viewpoint as an example. Or if it's something related to, I don't know, it's my birthday, there's cakes in the kitchen, help yourself, you can just click send only. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. But in summary with the filing, every time you do something with an email, you're prompted to file, you click one button and it will move it to Viewpoint. So next thing to go through is searching. Now this is kind of the key part of Mail Manager. So if you want to find an email, simply click the search button at the top and you'll get a little pop-up out of Outlook, just like so. Now in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see that I've got over 200,000 emails. Some I'm involved in, some I'm not, and that's across multiple projects. But just a really important piece here is that Mail Manager mirrors your existing project folder permissions. So unless you've got access to that folder, whether it's sat in Viewpoint, SharePoint, wherever, you would be, you'd have to have access in order to see it. So we'll go through a couple of examples to start with. So let's say I want to find an email on project 501 that talks about cladding. In this box up the top here where it says enter a location, I'm just going to click on project 501, and within one click, I've got every single email file to that project. From there, I want to filter by a keyword. Now this one's in the body, I think. So up in enter search terms, I'm going to click cladding, and within 1 second, I've got the email I'm after. I can simply hit open, and it will pull that email straight through from where it's being stored within Viewpoint into my Outlook like so. So I can forward it, respond to it, whatever I need to do with it. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an example, but you can really play around with this as much as you need to get yourself down to that, I guess, needle in the haystack email, whether it's something you need to just check quickly before speaking to a client, or worst case scenario, you know, you need to find all the emails relating to a specific project in the last 3 months, talking about a claim as an example. So to summarize on that, with Mail Manager, you're able to search all project emails within one screen and find any email within a few clicks. So if I just share my screen again, and we'll now leave some time to go through some Q&As. So please feel free to use the Q&A section or the chat facility, and myself and Ben will go through these now. So Ben, I'm not sure on your side if you can click on the Q&A, but I was going to read the questions out and then I guess hand over to you, or will be one for me. So I think this might be...
The first one, I guess, was one I actually typed in the answer to on the way, which is that on our little graphic showing lots of the Trimble products, we've not got eBuilder on there, and that's absolutely right. And on some of the slides that are very similar to that, we do have eBuilder on, and that's just because there are so many products that Trimble work with, and I can assure you that not even Trimble employees know all of them. But for different purposes, some will be off. And eBuilder, by the way, is a common data environment which is specifically for the asset owner, and it's a great product. But no, it was just happen chance that it wasn't on there.
Thanks, Ben. So from Michelle, we've got what happens with duplicates. So Mail Manager automatically removes any duplication. How it does that is it stamps each email with an automatic naming convention and tracks it to the nearest date and second of that email being received. You've got another eBuilder question there, but I guess we've just gone through that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really aimed at a slightly different sector of the market than for projects, and yeah.
Thank you. And the next question, I'm not sure if that's maybe a Viewpoint feature. Is it possible to track if email attachments have been opened?
So you can choose within the Viewpoint email folder preferences, you can choose whether to accept or not accept the embedded attachments. I will have to come back to you on whether you can tell whether an attachment has been opened or not. I'm not sure.
Okay, we'll note that one down, Ben. You've got one in from Hillary, which is there a way to automatically populate the field with the project number and name?
So typically we wouldn't police an email's name with a naming convention like ISO 19650 or whatever the particular naming conventions you are. Just, but obviously, as part of the reception from Mail Manager, it will be classed as whatever the project name is.
Perfect. We've got another one from Hillary. Is it possible to publish emails from iPhone in the same manner? So Mail Manager's got a few different ways to manage email on your iPhone, depending on where you're filing to. That's probably something which would be easier for us to do on another session. So Hillary will reach out to you to get that arranged if you're open to doing so. Are contacts linked to Viewpoint, Ben?
So the simple answer is no. Your permissions to deliver items to that are related to, so what you would see in Viewpoint is related to your, so yes, there is a link on a project by project basis, but most people from your Outlook wouldn't be able to view into it. It's only those who have permissions within Viewpoint to do that. So in other words, your Outlook contacts are separate from your VFP contacts.
Perfect, thank you. Next one from Emma. Will attachments be pulled from the email in Viewpoint? Mail Manager won't strip an attachment off an email, so it will keep it together most of the time, because when people are looking for attachments, normally they're looking kind of based on what you're talking about in the email. But Ben, over to you.
It's a preference. It's what you want it to do. It's a preference when you set up the folder.
Okay, so Stephen said, how do you add a Viewpoint folder as a Mail Manager filing location? So Mail Manager's got something called built-in auto discovery. So as soon as you've added a folder within Viewpoint, or a subfolder, I should say, called emails, Mail Manager will automatically map it to their locations and update it for everyone. How to get this extension on Outlook? You can download it straight from our website. We do free trials, or if you are looking to purchase Mail Manager, we would actually install it and set it all up for you. Felix, many times duplicates are received at different times, seconds apart. Mail Manager will do it to the nearest second, so there could be a 1 in a millionth chance that an email does duplicate, but it's highly unlikely, Felix, with how the naming convention works. It also looks at what the email is talking about, so it's very, very unlikely for you to get a duplicate. How easy is Mail Manager to implement with Viewpoint? Very easy, so it's something we'd set up for you. It'd take us 2 to 3 hours. Can the filing be duplicated to file on our server too, so not just filed within the CDE? Yes, that's an option as well, Russell. So it will integrate with your server too.
And it's important to say that Mail Manager works. The whole point is it gives you this functionality across all your Outlook. You know, this isn't just to do with us. It's to do with you know, all the projects you're working on, whether they're using Viewpoint for projects or not. Hopefully they are. But it's, you know, it's a very good standalone product.
Thank you. I think the next one from Brian, probably best for you to answer that, Ben, about emails being stored on the company server cloud or Viewpoint cloud.
So they're on Viewpoint's cloud services within Viewpoint. Though obviously you could set up a folder within your own servers to also receive emails.
Okay. And there's one from Emma there as well. Again, Ben, I'll let you lead that one.
Yes, it does. This is a current feature. So we've actually had this partnership running for what, about a year now, maybe slightly more.
Yeah. Okay. Is the search speed reliant on my internet connection? It's not. No. It's one of the reasons we built it in the way we did. So it's got a local index, which will allow you to search within seconds on millions of emails, and also allow you to search when your internet connection drops off. Once the project has ended, will we have access to emails sent? Yes, you'll still be able to search through those emails in Mail Manager. Just having a look through. A third of emails go unanswered. Does your system cater for incompetence? Andrew, like a bit of humour. Unfortunately, it doesn't. I wish it could. But yeah, you will need to kind of either action emails, but there is a way to file emails if you're not responding, and we can make this as strict as you like. Okay, I have to use cached exchange mode on Outlook when working on site. Would this affect Mail Manager, or would it have every email from the start of the project visible without the need to download? So these emails, Nick, aren't actually being stored within Outlook. They're being stored on Viewpoint. The way the search works, as I mentioned, is it keeps an index. So you would still be able to read the email. You won't be able to kind of physically open it up if you've got no connection to Viewpoint, but that would be separate to the kind of cache.
So again, we work in a similar way with the mobile app. You can cache things out. So it's, in other words, you know, so if on the site you have a poor internet connection, you can, but it would be the specific emails that you want to be able to read. So you would have to do that in the office before you went out on the site, because you wouldn't cache the entirety of all the emails sent to the job.
So here we go, another one in. We've got lots of questions. So will it automatically store received emails if the sender hasn't added a project specific email address? It won't automatically file them. So on incoming emails, you've got a couple of options, which we can definitely show you on a kind of one-to-one session. But there is a way to file incoming emails without having to add the project specific email address, which I believe is how it's done for your Viewpoint. So your personal email that you saved will be saved on Viewpoint too. That's a really good question you brought up. So your personal filing location needs to be somewhere private to you. I have mine on my OneDrive, but that could be on your desktop. You would be able to choose the location for your personal filing location. Can you buy Mail Manager without purchasing Viewpoint? Like yes. The opposite way around, yes. If you delete the mail in Outlook, I presume the copy in Viewpoint will be stored there. Yeah, that's exactly right. Okay, we'll give it a couple more minutes as well for a few more questions to come through. It's great to have so many questions. I think everyone's covered off quite a lot of the kind of main ones we normally get, but we'll wait to see if any more come through.
So effectively it is. That's what it's using. It's using the email Dropbox on Viewpoint. But obviously what it's doing is allowing you within Outlook this fantastic addition of functionality within Outlook, and also allowing you to do those searches within Viewpoint from Outlook, not having to have Viewpoint open at the same time.
Yeah, and I think to add to that as well, Ben, you know, a lot of the challenges we have, whether people are using like the email addresses where you've got to CC it in or dragging and dropping, you're still reliant on the user. And what we tend to find is a lot of people don't do it. So this kind of will help drive that consistency.
So you know, in one of our email folders, that can have an email address, and you can tell everybody that this is what they've got to do. But you know, again, the reality is that using a product like Mail Manager, which actually kind of makes you be tidy. You know, I'm a bit embarrassed that if you look at my email, you know, you will literally see thousands and thousands of unfiled emails. You know, I need something like Mail Manager to keep me in a bit better order than I actually do. So this is really what it's about.
Can you delete emails from Viewpoint dependent on permissions?
Depending on permissions, yeah. You know, if you have a high level of permissions, you can delete stuff. But remember that the way that Viewpoint for Projects works is that ultimately, so you know, I have the highest level of permissions on Viewpoint for Projects enterprises that I'm involved in, and I can delete stuff. And it looks as if it's gone, but the reality is the way the system works is if Ben Wallbank had been a terrible architect and had been sacked from the job, and you suspected that I had deleted stuff because I'd had the permissions to do it before I'd been gone because I was disgruntled about being sacked or whatever, the reality is that you can actually come back to us and get us to retrieve, because nothing's really deleted. It really is a single source of truth, you know. So you could come back to us and say, can you retrieve these things? And actually we can.
Brilliant. Does it file the whole email thread or just the email you've sent? So it will track full correspondence. Yeah. It won't duplicate them either, so don't worry about that. But it will track incoming emails, outgoing emails, the full conversation. So I'll keep the Q&A session up, but just while we get some more questions in, I just wanted to start displaying our contact details. So to start with, you've got the contact details for Viewpoint. Just leave it on there if anyone wants to screen grab it.
And you can always just come to the website, which will give you the same contact details.
Exactly. And if you need to get in contact with us, feel free to email us at sales@mailmanager.com. Okay, we've got another few questions coming in. So can it allow others to see emails in Outlook if people leave? So this isn't searching in Outlook, this is searching Viewpoint or your server as an example. But if people leave, you could move emails from Outlook into Viewpoint with Mail Manager very, very quickly. We've got a bulk file feature, and then be able to search through those emails.
On the pricing issues for Viewpoint, there are almost inevitably quite a variety of ways that we can price. On the whole, you know, at least to start off with, it's on a job-by-job basis, and that's done on the contract value of the job. But we will also, you know, a lot of our customers are what we call enterprise customers, so they pay they pay for, you know, a fee for using it on all their jobs. So if you're using us on a number of jobs within a single organization, it becomes cheaper to do it that way. In both those cases, it's unlimited users, unlimited storage. But we also, you know, can do it on a user-by-user basis as well. So there are a variety of ways to do it. And the easiest way to do it is if you come and have a chat with us, we'll look at what you're trying to do and give you the relevant pricing information. Okay.
Thank you very much. Good stuff. Well, thank you everyone very much for joining. We'll probably be in contact just to kind of get your feedback on today's session. If anyone wants to get in contact, then feel free to use the details we've shown today and the email addresses I've put into the chat. But I'd like to say a big thank you to Ben for joining today. It's really interesting to learn more about Viewpoint, and yeah, hopefully others are interested in learning more too.
Great. Thank you very much, everybody.